Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Triple R, Ryan's Real Reactions, and today we got more Camille Vasquez. This has been one you guys have been wanting me to watch for a while. The title of this one is Camille Vasquez presents Rebuttal Closings in Johnny Depp vs. Amber Heard trial. This is on the Law&Crime YouTube channel. Here we go.
Ms. Heard's counsel has mischaracterized.
Also, if the audio is a little bit bad on their end, it's just the way it is. But it's not on your end, my end. It's on the mic.
Record multiple times, and Ms. Heard lied to you. They've mischaracterized the testimony of police officer Sines and Haddon, who explicitly testified that they saw no signs of injury and no property damage. They mischaracterized the testimony of Walter Hamada, who testified clearly that there was no impact on Ms. Heard's career at Aquaman 2 from
We need to get a front-facing camera on Camille.
anything said by Adam Waldman or Johnny Depp. And Ms. Heard's casting was delayed because of creative issues. They've mischaracterized the testimony of Detective Sadaga. They mischaracterized the testimony of Ronald Shell. You've been here. You've listened to the testimony. You know the record. Ms. Heard lied, and she lied again, and she kept lying.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's get the shot of Amber while Camille's telling her that she's a liar.
She lied 6 years ago on May 27th, 2016, when she walked into court in Los Angeles to publicly accuse Mr. Depp of abuse for the first time.
Yep.
She lied again when she told the world over and over again that she donated all of the $7 million divorce settlement to charity.
I plan on donating. It's gonna in the future. There's the smug Amber look.
You heard the evidence about what she donated, and you watched her. You watched her try to save her lie about that broken promise with more lies on this stand in this courtroom. She lied again when she told the world in her op-ed on December 18th, 2018, that she was a public figure representing domestic abuse, painting herself as a representative of abuse survivors everywhere, and painting Mr. Depp as a representative of perpetrators. She's come too far. She can't back down. She's lied too many times to too many people. So when Mr. Depp finally decided to fight to clear his name by filing this lawsuit, Ms. Heard responded by making up more and more stories of more and more extreme abuse.
I truly believe that Amber, this was like a waterfall, and I believe that she was just like, well, I've lied about this. Let's just keep going, right? Let's just go, hey, I've already gotten this far with it, right? Let's just lie about everything. What, you know, we're already in deep. We already got here. Let's just keep going. And at that point, I almost feel like she started believing her lies, because I believe narcissists believe the lies that they tell because they can make themselves rewire their brain to think with whatever works for their story and narrative.
She came up with a new accusation that Mr. Depp had raped her with a bottle in Australia.
Jeez.
And she keeps making new claims up.
Ooh, she didn't like that one. She closed her eyes for that one.
Even now. At this trial, for the very first time, she claimed that she had been sexually assaulted the night of her 30th birthday, even though she had testified repeatedly about her birthday prior and never mentioned it. And
it's pretty embarrassing when you get called out publicly by a beast of a lawyer, huh, Amber?
at this trial, she also claimed for the very first time that Mr. Depp was hitting her all the time during the first year of their relationship, even though this first year, she had testified previously, was magic and bliss, with absolutely no violence. Her story is a constantly moving target. It never stays the same. Mr. Depp owns his mistake. He owns all of them. You saw him do it on the stand in a raw and powerful way.
Wow, this is the most passionate I've seen Camille. She's really not putting on a show, because that would make it seem like she's not being herself, but she's really laying it on. You know, she's showing the jury, hey, let's get to the facts.
But in this trial, Ms. Heard has been confronted with her lies and the damage she has caused. And she cannot take any responsibility for what she has done. And you've seen the story, her story, it doesn't hold up. You've watched her performance on the stand. You saw her get caught in lie after lie.
That's what it is, too. It's a performance, 100%. She knocked it out of the park with that.
The
it's
time
like she's
has come
playing a
for
role.
those lies to come to an end.
Yeah.
The time has come for you, the jury, to decide the truth. I started this trial giving you an opening statement, and I said to you that words matter. And this case is about Ms. Heard's words, the words she published in an op-ed about Mr. Depp. Ms. Heard and her attorneys have talked a lot about this, in this trial about the First Amendment. They've talked about the importance of free speech, and we agree. I'm a lawyer. Of course I agree with that. But the First Amendment doesn't protect lies that hurt and defame people.
Let them
and
know.
There's a difference. Ms. Heard has no...
There's anger in Camille's voice. I genuinely believe, like, this pissed her off to watch somebody like Amber lie on oath so many times to try to tear somebody down like Johnny. You could tell there's actual genuine, like, anger in her voice. Also, I don't want you to be like, oh my God, Ryan, does this mean you're done watching the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial? No. Sometimes I just pick something that I feel like watching. Haven't watched something with Camille in a month, so here we go. But I know there's so many things still to watch. The problem is now the Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff is the least viewed stuff on the channel, which is interesting because so many of you say, Ryan, we need more. Where are you? Where you at?
No right to tell the world that Mr. Depp physically or sexually assaulted her when that isn't true.
Yep.
That's not protected speech.
Yep.
Our U.S. Constitution doesn't protect that speech. And it is a core value.
I like Camila when she's feisty. Sorry, I always say Camille, you know. Sorry, it's like a Camila. I love Camille when she's feisty. Look at her, man.
Of American society, that you are innocent until proven guilty. There is a presumption of innocence in this country. A person's life cannot and should not be destroyed by a baseless charge and no opportunity to defend yourself.
Yep.
That's why Mr. Depp had to bring this claim. Ms. Heard was never going to stop calling him an abuser. The only way to clear his name was to stand up in this court where both sides are bound by the same rules of American law. A jury would be tasked, you, ladies and gentlemen, would be tasked with deciding once and for all Ms. Heard's lies could be exposed in a fair and impartial process. When Mr. Depp sued her, Ms. Heard apparently decided she needed to sue him back. And because there were no statements made by Mr. Depp on which she could base a claim, she sued him based on statements made by one of his lawyers, Adam Waldman, calling Ms. Heard's accusations of abuse a hoax. Make no mistake, though, they are a hoax. Ms. Heard made up claims of abuse, and then she gave a performance where she passionately repeated those made-up claims of abuse on the stand in front of each of you.
It's funny watching Elaine, her defense attorney, watch this, and probably just thinking, wow, where did I go wrong? What class did I skip in law school? Why is she so much better than me? Like, anytime I see the guy in the background, her other lawyer, writing stuff down, he's probably like, let's watch videos on Camille to learn how to be better.
But ask yourselves, who's really the one alleging a hoax here? Who wants you to believe that everyone else is lying, committing perjury? Ms. Heard needs you to believe that all the people who showed up in this courtroom to testify on behalf of Mr. Depp, they're all lying. She needs you to believe that the witnesses you heard from, including security professionals, former cops, medical professionals, and police officers, they're all lying.
Yep.
Covering up for Mr. Depp.
Look, it's like I say in a friend group, right? If everybody in a friend group doesn't like one person, there's probably a reason, right? If one or two people in a friend group don't like a person, then maybe there's a little thing, whatever. If you think everybody is lying, then you are the one lying.
Asking you to believe that she's the one telling the truth and that the rest of the people in Mr. Depp's life are all part of a conspiracy of silence. This case is not just about whether you believe Mr. Depp or you believe Miss Heard. This case is about whether you believe Miss Heard or whether you believe Mr. Depp, Chrissy Dombrowski, who, yes, is here, supporting her brother. Isaac Baruch, who wept in front of
Isaac, the best witness.
The world. Keenan Wyatt, who doesn't work for Mr. Depp. Sean Betts, a former LA Sheriff's Department. Malcolm Connolly, he worked in the prisons in the UK. Starling Jenkins, a former US Marine.
Go.
Travis McGivern, also another former police officer. Ben King, he worked for the Queen of England. David Kipper.
Like, how are you going to go against that, Amber? You have somebody, a witness on the other side who worked for the Queen.
Dr. David Kipper. Miss Heard's doctor. And yes, Mr. Depp's doctor. Debbie Lloyd, a nurse. Aaron Filati, Miss Heard's personal nurse. Officer Sines, an LA police officer with training in domestic violence. Officer Haddon, her understudy, yes, in his first week, studying to pick up on these signs of domestic abuse. Officer Gatlin, Brandon Patterson, who worked at Eastern Columbia Building.
I'm surprised it's not about to say President Obama.
Kate James, Miss Heard's former personal assistant. Tara Roberts.
Johnny.
Romero.
Johnny looks like, yeah, we're going to win this.
He took his deposition from his car because he had to go to work, but it didn't stop him from telling the truth.
Yep. Amber didn't like that one.
Edward White, Mr. Depp's business manager. Laura Wasser, one of the most famous divorce lawyers in California. Morgan Knight.
TMZ legend.
Beverly Leonard. Morgan Tremaine.
Sorry, TMZ legend.
And Kate Moss. And all the other witnesses whose stories support Mr. Depp's description of what took place. These people have nothing to gain by coming forward. They have everything to lose. You have seen Mr. Waldman's statements and
it's true. They're all putting their careers and their word on the line, right? To be a witness. They didn't have to, right? I don't believe they were subpoenaed, but they chose to defend Johnny, putting their years and years of work that they obviously take, seriously. A lot of them are in very high honored positions. To put themselves on the line for Johnny Depp, for the truth, and so somebody doesn't get convicted of something that they didn't simply do.
Evidence in this case. When you look at them, you can tell that the key point Mr. Waldman was making in each of these statements was simply that Ms. Heard's accusations against Mr. Depp were lies. That's why he talks about an abuse hoax. Now, Ms. Heard has the burden of proof of proving that Mr. Waldman's statements are false. And that means that Ms. Heard has to do more than prove that Mr. Waldman got some details wrong. She has to prove that Mr. Waldman's statements are false in their essential meaning. In other words, she has to prove that her abuse claims are not a hoax. But as we've seen, the evidence is overwhelming that Ms. Heard's claims of abuse are false. We should also spend a bit of time talking about actual malice. It is Ms. Heard's burden to prove that Mr. Waldman's statements were made with actual malice. And actual malice means knowledge that the statements were false or reckless, and that's an important word, reckless disregard for the truth. But here, there is clear evidence that Mr. Waldman genuinely believed that Ms. Heard had committed a hoax. You watched him give the testimony by deposition in this case. He
almost looks like Amber has no concern right now.
Testified about the evidence he found persuasive. The numerous witnesses and the sworn depositions of the police officers who went to the penthouses that night and again saw no injuries. There is no evidence in this record, none, that Mr. Waldman acted with actual malice. He believed Mr. Depp. He believed the record. It's also important to understand that because Mr. Waldman's statements were not made by Mr. Depp, Ms. Heard needs to prove that Mr. Waldman was acting as Mr. Depp's agent. And within the scope of that agency, within the scope of the agency of the employment, when he made the statements, Mr. Waldman is a lawyer. Ms. Heard has not presented evidence that making those statements was part of Mr. Waldman's responsibilities as Mr. Depp's lawyer. There's nothing in the record. Ms. Heard is also claiming to be suffering from PTSD and claims that she has something to do with Mr. Waldman's statements. Ms. Heard wants you to believe that she suffers from PTSD because Mr. Depp purportedly abused her. But as usual, Ms. Heard is not telling the truth. As you heard from Dr. Shannon Curry.
That's my goat right there. I would say Isaac, Morgan Tremaine, and Shannon Curry are my three, besides Camille, are my three goats of this trial.
Ms. Heard does not,
so far, I know I have more.
Not have PTSD. And she does not act like a person with PTSD.
And that's another thing. Lying about DV and then lying about something like PTSD when there are so many people that truly suffer from that, right? Lying about domestic abuse and things when there are people that have gone through terrible things, to watch someone blatantly lie about it without being able to prove it at all, especially the PTSD. That affects people's lives every day. That pushes people to the point of no return. So to have somebody so brash and so pompous to think that they could come on here and just kind of, yeah, I have PTSD, without any real backing, when you have an actual doctor like Shannon say, no, you don't. Putting their honor on the line. Shannon Curry is a doctor, right? That's a big deal. That's not just a joke. It's not like Dr. Pepper or Dr. Dre. It's a real doctor. So when somebody comes in and tells somebody like Amber, that's not true, they realize that if they were wrong there, that's their career. That's it. Their career's over. If you know, that's not something that a doctor would take lightly or lie about. Also, a big variety of drinks. We have Fiji, maybe like a Target brand water. What is that, like an Avion, a Coke, and then possibly a bottle of pee. I'm just kidding, but that does look like pee.
Is an actress in a major film, involved in sommelier training. She just had a baby. Dr. Curry also found that Ms. Heard attempted to grossly exaggerate her symptoms during testing, which is a sign of malingering, or said differently, of Ms. Heard lying. Ms. Heard hired Dr. Don Hughes to help her with this narrative. Dr. Hughes did not catch Ms. Heard's exaggeration during testing because Dr. Hughes used an improper malingering screen test. She wasn't going to find it. One that is meant to identify an examinee's attempt to fake a severe mental illness or psychosis, not PTSD. Dr. Hughes diagnosed Ms. Heard with PTSD without administering the gold standard diagnostic test used for PTSD. She diagnosed her, think about that, she diagnosed her with PTSD before administering the test she admitted was the gold standard.
That's basically like saying you go to the doctor and you're like, I think my finger's broken. And they're like, okay, let's see it. And you're like, this? They're like, yeah, it's broken. You're like, hold on, you didn't even see me try to bend it yet. Yeah, but it looks a little funky. You know, it's like, well hold on. Let's do some testing first. It's like saying, yeah, you got PTSD. Oh, okay, cool. Good. It works for me. It's like, yeah, you think you'd want to be sure about that if you took it seriously. You know, a lot of people will get a second opinion just to make sure. But, you know, Amber was probably like, oh, let's run with that. Easy narrative. I'm a victim. Feel bad for me. Johnny's a monster. Look at what's wrong with me. He took advantage of it.
2 years after diagnosing Ms. Heard with PTSD, and shortly after Dr. Curry administered the gold standard diagnostic test in her evaluation of Ms. Heard, but before it was disclosed, Dr. Hughes decided to administer the gold standard. Finally. Nevertheless, even after Dr. Hughes used the proper test, there were a number of deficiencies in her administration of that test. You saw them, including her failure to even follow the instructions that render her diagnoses unreliable. Ms. Heard's claim for monetary damages related to Mr. Waldman's statements, frankly, it's a fantasy. Ms. Heard speculates wildly that she has somehow been damaged by Mr. Waldman's statements. But in reality, Ms. Heard has not shown any damage at all that was because of or by Mr. Waldman's statements. There is evidence of a mountain of negative press coverage about Ms. Heard, including press reports about her defecating in Mr. Depp's bed, cutting off his finger, and putting out a cigarette on his face.
Whoa, I didn't know that. Need to figure that one out too. Watch that one. And putting out a cigarette on his face is crazy.
But none of that has anything to do with Mr. Waldman's statements.
Jesus.
And Ms. Heard has presented no
what a
evidence,
psycho.
None, of any film or
That's like something like a biker would do, like in the middle of like the South, in like a bar fight.
other project that she has lost because of the statements. In fact, you heard from Warner Brothers president, Walter Hamada, who explained that Ms. Heard suffered no loss, none.
Damn.
No loss of compensation or other adverse effect on her major film, Aquaman 2. You heard it
Aquaman 2 in theaters now.
straight from him. Ms. Heard's expert, Catherine Arnold, testified, but for the statements from Mr. Waldman, Ms. Heard would be much more successful in her career. To form this opinion, Ms. Arnold compares Ms. Heard to actors such as Jason Momoa, the actual Aquaman, Chris Pine, Gal Gadot, and Zendaya. But as
Zendaya.
Richard Marx, who does deals every day, that's his job, not testifying here for a paycheck, does deals in Hollywood, and Doug Banya both testified that these actors are simply not comparable to Ms. Heard. After all, Jason Momoa, he was Aquaman. Chris Pine, he was Captain Kirk. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. Zendaya, she's been acting since she was 13 years old on the Disney Channel.
And she's got a bop of a song. I forget what the heck's her song called. Replay, isn't it called? Dude, it's a banger.
She's in every single Spider-Man movie.
Yep.
Further, the Q score.
Basically saying, Amber, you're not shit. Okay?
Of these actors are not at all comparable with Ms. Heard's Q scores. As Mr. Banya testified, Ms. Heard's rating was less compared to these actors, and all of Ms. Heard's Q scores ratings were less favorable than the average of all performers. As you heard from Michael Spindler, because Ms.
Amber Heard writing in her notes, need to be more famous and better actress than Zendaya. Who cares that she was on Disney Channel?
Arnold relies on the salaries of these comparable actors to calculate Ms. Heard's damages. Ms. Heard's claim for damages makes no sense. There's no connection. Further, and more fatally for Ms. Heard's damages claim, is that there's no connection to the Waldman statements, to Mr. Waldman's statements. Even if you find damage to her career, you have to connect it to the defamatory statements. There is no connection. Mr. Banya testified that all the negative tweets that Ms. Heard has entered into evidence have no causal connection to the statements underlying Ms. Heard's counterclaims. Specifically, Ms. Heard's...
Oh, how many rings is Johnny wearing? Every time I see him, he's more rings on. Looks like he's wearing about... Yeah, you don't... Tell you what, man. You don't want to be a metal detector around Johnny Depp.
Expert, Mr. Ron Schell, presented a flawed methodology that included picking out hashtags at random, including Justice for Johnny Depp. What does that have to do with the Waldman statements? And counting accompanying tweets, even though it had nothing to do with Mr. Waldman. Ms. Heard's counterclaim is based on statements by Mr. Waldman, not Mr. Depp. Ms. Heard knows perfectly well that she hasn't suffered any damages from those statements, buried at the bottom of articles in a mere tabloid, the Daily Mail. And the statements are substantially true, since all they do really is point out that Ms. Heard's abuse allegations are false.
The tabloids are so weird. I remember when I was younger, especially in like the 90s and 2000s, it would be like Elvis had passed away for a long time, and it would be like, Elvis Presley found in Hawaii? Or it'd be like, alien invasion. Is Elvis returning as an alien? It'd be like the most bizarre, weird headlines. The tabloids. Are they even still like a thing anymore? I feel like that. Because anytime my mom and I used to go to the grocery store, it'd just be like, is Tom Cruise living in a secret bunker on Mars? Also, hey, halfway through the video, my Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial fans out there, this is where you got to show some love to this video. Give it a like to keep the series going. It's the worst performing series right now, which is crazy because at one time it was the best performing. But I'm not stopping. You know me. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep watching anything that anything that looks like I want to watch it. I'll watch it. Especially when you guys say, hey, you got to check this one out. Somebody said, Brian, watch the rebuttal. I said, you know what? I will. I still got to watch the final verdict and stuff. And then there's other, I'm going to jump around. We already know what happens. Okay. It's not like we're spoiling anything. Okay. Not going to be surprised. It's about, there's other things I got to watch. We got more to go. Don't worry. Long game. We're playing the long game here on Triple R. So like the video, leave some comments, some other things that I haven't watched. If you don't know what I've watched yet, check out the playlist in the description, or just go to my channel, look at the Johnny Depp Amber Heard playlist. You'll see all the videos I've made, so you can catch up and say, oh, you haven't watched this one, haven't watched this this witness or this blah, blah, blah. Let me know. You guys know I listen. Thank you for hyping the video. A lot of you guys use all your hype points on my channel. That means a lot to me. You don't have to do that, and you do, so thank you. And then subscribe to the channel. Just click subscribe and then go to the bell, turn on notifications, set it to show all so you don't miss any videos. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days a week. You'll get videos of me, usually right around 5 p.m. PST. So even if the notifications don't work sometimes, just come to the channel. There will be a video. I haven't missed one yet.
Ms. Heard's counsel argued that Ms. Heard did not write the title of the online version of the op-ed, which stated, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. It does not matter whether or not Ms. Heard wrote the title. You will recall from the court's instructions this morning that what matters is whether Ms. Heard republished the defamatory language. That instruction states in part that you should find Ms. Heard republished this article if she, quote, retransmitted the defamatory material with the goal of achieving a new audience. Stated differently, republication...
She definitely was using all of this to further her career. I think she thought, okay, women everywhere are going to love and support me. Everyone's going to believe me. I don't even have to worry about, telling the truth or not. And then because of this, I'm going to get all of Johnny's fans, and I'm going to be a big, big star in the movie industry. I guarantee you that's what she thought was going to happen. But the opposite happened. And that's what you get for lying.
Occurs when the speaker has affirmatively, that's important, affirmatively reiterated the statement. Ms. Heard affirmatively reiterated the statement. She posted it on her Twitter. If we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 3. This is the tweet Ms. Heard sent. She retweeted the Washington Post tweet to a new audience, her own Twitter followers. And she affirmatively reiterated the statement.
Also, I refuse to call Twitter X to this day. It's still Twitter to me. I've been on Twitter since 2009. Okay? I'm never calling it X. Sounds like I'm doing some sort of space mission. Okay, it's Twitter. You tweet.
By proudly declaring, today I published this op-ed in the Washington Post. She didn't quibble with the title. She said proudly, today I published this op-ed in the Washington Post. The title of the op-ed was prominently displayed in the tweet. That is enough for you, members of the jury, to find that Ms. Heard republished the title of the op-ed and adopted the statement as her own.
Yep.
She can and should be held liable and responsible for that statement.
Yep. You wanted all the glory? Well, now you got to deal with the backlash of wanting that glory. You were a glory hunter and it blew up in your face.
Ms. Heard tries to make something out of the fact that Mr. Waldman reported her to law enforcement in Los Angeles for perjury after her allegations of abuse were made against Mr. Depp. But I'll submit to you that all this proves is that Mr. Waldman believes Ms. Heard has committed perjury.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rottenborn argued that the lack of supporting evidence for Ms. Heard's allegations
Mr.
of
Rottenborn.
horrendous, constant abuse is somehow not something to be considered. That it is shameful for you to consider the fact that she didn't document all the terrible injuries that she claims to have suffered.
Can you imagine how long it would take Elaine to say everything that Camille is saying? I think instead of this being a 34-minute video, it'd be a 3.5 hour video. Because, man, she is not great with getting her thoughts out. Camille, on the other hand, superb.
That is a twisted argument. First, you know, because you have seen and listened to Ms. Heard in action, that Ms. Heard is a woman who's documenting things throughout their relationship. And it is instructive that the things she chose to document had nothing to do with violence. She documented Mr. Depp sleeping. She documented lines of cocaine.
What are they all laughing about in the...
Featuring...
Like, it's crazy to think that, like, yo, you're getting cooked right now. The last thing I would be doing is smiling or laughing at anyone or anything. You got like, you're getting cooked on national television by a pro. Don't act like you're not upset right now. We know you know you're effed.
Prominently, Mr. Depp's loan out company.
Get that smirk off. You're in the courtroom.
Or production company, Infinitum. Stage photographs. That's what she documented.
Yep.
Mr. Rottenborn's entire argument assumes that Mr. Depp, a man, should be disbelieved because despite the fact that Ms. Heard can't support her accusations with actual evidence. What we have put to you, the jury...
I also believe that her team and they were like, look, Johnny Depp is a man and he's kind of like known as like, you know, he's a bit of a drunk. People are going to believe you, Amber. You're the woman and you're, you know, and he's the man. And it's like, no. You have to remember, people actually give people a fair trial and a fair chance. It is innocent until proven guilty, you know? And I don't think they expected that. I think they just thought people would be like, oh yeah, why would she lie about that? Well, now you know why people lie about things. Try to get fame, money, and power, take it away from someone.
It's not that because Ms. Heard didn't take enough pictures or tell people about abuse that it didn't happen. What we have put to you is that given how brutal and constant the abuse Ms. Heard claims, she would have had serious injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. She would have had serious injuries.
She laughed that one off.
That would have been observable in the pictures we looked at and by the witnesses we heard from.
Correct.
And would have required medical attention.
The amount of times that Amber said Johnny beat her up without anybody ever witnessing it, seeing it, or knowing it is insane. Insane.
That's it. Ms. Heard testifies to injuries that multiple people didn't see.
Yep, exactly what I just said.
What you have in the end is Ms. Heard's word.
Yep.
Do you trust it?
She's so good, dude. She's so good. If you're going word versus word, Johnny and his team and his crew and his witnesses versus Amber, her team and her crew, oh my God, it'd be 100-0. I would go 100-0 for Team Depp, Team Johnny.
We are not here because Ms. Heard told the world Mr. Depp was verbally abusive. This is not about the words used by Mr. Depp. We are here because Ms. Heard told the world that Mr. Depp was physically and sexually abusive.
Yep.
That's what Ms. Heard was saying in the op-ed.
Johnny looks so disgusted, man, even having to hear all this back. Like, he just looks so over it, which I don't blame him. Just like, dude, get me out of here. I totally understand that look of just, can't believe this is happening. Can't believe it got this far.
On May 27th, exactly 6 years ago today, 2016, Ms. Heard walked into court with a mark on her face to tell the world that her husband was abusive. She renewed that falsehood in her op-ed, describing herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse. And she published the op-ed, including the title, claiming that she spoke up against sexual violence. Everyone knew who she was talking about when she used those words. She was alleging physical and sexual abuse.
She thought she was going to be the poster child in a good way. The face.
She was not alleging emotional or psychological abuse. She was alleging physical and sexual abuse.
Yep.
Ms. Heard cannot run away from her own allegations now. You have all heard the evidence of what she alleged against Mr. Depp in 2016. And you have all heard her incredibly dramatic, over-the-top story of physical and sexual abuse. That story was a defamatory lie. Ms. Heard tried to argue that you only need to find that Mr. Depp might have touched Ms. Heard once in order to find in her favor, because that makes her a victim of abuse. But common sense should tell you that you can't pick and choose Ms. Heard's allegations. You saw her on the stand. We all did. She gave the performance of her life, telling you story after story of abuse.
This might have been Amber's best role of all of her acting jobs.
And not just any abuse, but extravagant, over-the-top allegations of abuse that would be truly brutal, horrific, if true. You either believe all of it, or you believe none of it.
Amber's like,
Either she's telling the truth, including in her most extreme allegations, or she's lying. Either she was raped by a bottle, or she's the sort of person who would get on the stand in this courtroom and lie to you and the world about being raped.
she's still putting on a show. Look.
And if she would lie about that, what wouldn't she lie about?
Yep. You could see her right now trying to she knows cameras are on her.
Can't find that Mr. Depp hit her once. Either he hit her countless times, or you can't believe a single word that comes out of her mouth.
Can't believe a liar, even if they told the truth before. Once you're a liar, and once you're a known liar and a proven liar, I don't believe a thing you say. You could say it, I'll go, okay, cool. I don't believe it. You know, everybody knows, everybody has friends they can trust. Everyone has friends where they go, yeah, you're full shit. You may not tell them that, but you know deep down, yeah, you're not telling the truth.
And what is the actual meaning of Ms. Heard's op-ed? That's an important question. It's not that Mr. Depp said a nasty word to her once. It's not that Mr. Depp might have hit her once. It's that she is a representative of domestic abuse. And by extension, Mr. Depp is a representative of abuse perpetrators. Words matter.
Words matter is a great line, because they do. Words hold incredible weight and incredible value.
I you a lot of text messages from Mr. Depp with some very vivid language. As I told you at the start of this trial, Mr. Depp has a unique style of writing. He uses words I don't use.
I've always disagreed with the whole like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I always think that's the opposite. Yeah, a stick or a stone may break your bone, but you'll heal from it. People don't heal from words, vicious words from body shaming or mental scars, right? When you see a scar on your body, it's like I healed from this. I'm better now. But like words, what you say to somebody holds more weight than anything, in my opinion. And here, that's exactly the case. She has already said so much that this will hurt Johnny Depp forever. Getting Johnny Depp being not guilty and Amber, whatever it is a positive, but it doesn't take away the fact that his ex-wife and someone that he was in love with for many years tried to ruin his entire life. He will probably think of these things that she said forever. Just because you win a case doesn't mean everything your brain goes back to normal. And that's the things that sucks about when people lie about stuff like this, because then it also makes the people that are telling the truth seem like maybe they're questionable. Amber Heard lied. How maybe this girl is. Maybe this guy is. And that's why this kind of stuff is so distasteful and disgusting to me. Your words hold a lot of value.
And you probably don't use either. But as you also heard during this trial, Mr. Depp writes in that way, in part because he modeled his writings on literary giants like Hunter S. Thompson. And he's got a dark sense of humor. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's who he is. She
thought that's funny too.
And Mr. Depp owns...
Anytime that Camille tries to compliment Johnny in some way, or like say she seems to think everything is funny. It's like, Amber, you were married to him, okay? You can't now act like he's the worst, lamest person in the world, okay? You know, that's not how this works.
Text messages. He acknowledges that he said those things, and he said things that he shouldn't have. But using bad language and colorful humor...
Johnny's falling asleep. Look at him.
...violent abuser.
He's out of it. I don't blame him.
And ironically, as much as Ms. Heard is trying to use Mr. Depp's words against him, it is Ms. Heard who repeatedly admitted to violence. In her own words. You've heard the tapes. You've heard her admit to violence. Ms. Heard can try to distract you with text messages showing that Mr. Depp uses bad language and has a dark sense of humor.
Right, who cares?
But none of that, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, none of that is evidence of abuse. Hitting your husband is evidence of abuse.
Yep. Yep.
Mr. Ronborn talked about the burden of proof. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's talk about it.
Mr. Depp only has to show...
Shout out to Good Mythical Morning if anybody watches them. Let's talk about it.
...that it is
love me some Rhett and Link.
More likely than not, that the statements in the op-ed are false. That it is more likely than not that they have a defamatory implication. That it is more likely than not that Ms. Heard designed and intended the statements to refer to Mr. Depp. And the evidence on these points is clear. Ms. Heard made these allegations 6 years ago today, May 27th, 2016. She went out of her way to make them public, tipping off TMZ. When she published the op-ed, she was reminding everyone in Hollywood and the world of her abuse claims. And those claims are a lie. Consider what the true purpose of the article. Mr. Ronborn said it was to promote legislative reforms. But what was it actually? The evidence shows it was to promote Ms. Heard.
Mm-hmm.
It was time to be released at the...
It was super calculated. Super calculated. And you can't tell me it wasn't.
Same time as Aquaman on December 21st, 2018.
Absolutely.
And it was timed to coincide with her announcement of her ambassadorship at the ACLU for women's rights. That's not a coincidence. It was designed that way.
Correct.
That was not a statement about legislative reforms.
Yeah, they hid that in there to make it seem like it was part of a bigger thing. It's like, no. You put that in there as a fail-safe to say, oh, see? We're just like you. We're victims.
This was about burnishing Ms. Heard's reputation at the expense of Mr. Depp's.
Absolutely.
It was about Ms. Heard continuing to portray herself as a heroic survivor of abuse.
Absolutely.
And on the question of actual malice, that just means whether or not Ms. Heard knew the allegations were false. Ms. Heard knows perfectly well that she wasn't abused. She has direct knowledge of that.
If I can pay Amber Heard one compliment, she's very good at frowning. Like for my mouth to go down, I really got to try it. I look like a blobfish when I do that. She's got a good frown.
She was in that relationship. So actual malice is easily established.
Also, it's really nice during these rebuttals because nobody's allowed to come in and say, objection, hearsay.
You may have noticed that no one showed up for Ms. Heard in this courtroom other than her sister.
Yeesh.
Every other witness who traveled to Virginia for her was a paid expert.
Yep.
This is a woman who burns bridges. Her close friends don't show up for her.
Damn. That's gotta hurt if you're Amber. I don't care who you are.
Mr. Rottenborn tried to discredit Mr. Depp's witnesses by suggesting they're all on Mr. Depp's payroll. So he doubled down on the hoax theory, that everyone's just lying. First of all, it's not even true Keenan Wyatt is on his payroll. Ben King isn't on his payroll.
Morgan isn't.
Officer Melissa Sines isn't on his payroll. Morgan Tremaine.
There he is.
Isn't on his payroll.
It's my guy.
Officer Tyler Haddon. He's not on his payroll.
They're all
Beverly
liars.
Leonard, Alejandro Romero. Brandon Patterson. Morgan Knight. None of those people are on his payroll. And Kate Moss. Kate Moss.
I love it. So, like, you think Kate Moss is getting paid off, one of the most famous models ever?
Is most definitely not on Mr. Depp's payroll. Ms. Heard wants you to believe that all these people are lying.
I need to watch Kate Moss's.
Let's talk about the Boston plane. Ms. Heard wants you to believe that the recording you heard is from the Boston plane flight. But that's quite telling. What did Ms. Heard capture of this supposed rampage? Mr. Depp moaning in distress? That's what she chose to record. What sort of person records something like that?
Someone that
What
wants
sort of
blackmail.
person takes pictures of their husband or boyfriend or fiance who's struggling with sobriety?
Yeah, the one that made me mad was the picture when she took, when Johnny was passed out with ice cream. And it's like, okay, we get it. Like, we get it. Okay.
Nodding off with ice cream dripping down his leg,
There we go.
his hand in his pocket,
Amber
or asleep on the ground.
thinks it's hilarious.
What sort of person does that? Definitely not someone that's afraid of him.
Correct. Ooh, that's a good... Whoa. Damn, that's good. Wait, that's a great point. Because if you're really scared of somebody, if somebody's beating you up, if somebody's verbally abusing you and all these things, you're not going to be like even risking taking photos of them, videos of them, because if that, they could snap, right? Oh my God, what if they, that's an unbelievable point. If I was in the jury, I'd be like, ooh, that's the cherry on top right there. That's a great argument. That's like somebody that's having fun with it, sending it to their friends. LMAO, look at Johnny. Look at this drunk. Look at this druggie, right? Not like I'm scared, I'm doing this to defend myself. Not at all. Great point, Camille. Unbelievable point.
And Ms. Heard's attorney told a story of May 21 that was completely, utterly inconsistent with the testimonies of Officers Sines and Haddon, who testified clearly that they saw no signs of injury, no sign of property damage. And she told a story about how Officer Sadanaga's, I'll get that right, Sadanaga's testimony was also wrong. She testified that the report was only required in case of a crime. Ms. Heard's attorneys tried to tell you that Mr. Depp apologized on May 22nd because he had hit Ms. Heard. Mr. Depp didn't apologize to Ms. Heard on May 22nd for hitting her. He apologized because he was leaving Ms. Heard. And this was a woman.
See, there's the Amber Heard frown. Also, sometimes I think I confuse people. Sometimes I look here, and sometimes I look here. On my recording software, there's the video playing, but smaller. And then there's the other side of the other screen is the bigger view. Sometimes I just look at the smaller screen for some reason. Sometimes I look at the bigger one. It just, I don't know why. So if you ever look at me doing both, it's just, there's two screens playing the same video.
That in spite of all her violence and all her rage, Mr. Depp, he loved her.
Mm-hmm.
He had been with her for years. Of course he apologized when he finally broke it off. Ms. Bredehoff also tried to tell you that Ms. Heard did everything in her power to keep the authorities away and to not get Mr. Depp in trouble on May 21st, 2016.
Oh, bullshit.
Take a minute and think back to what Ms. Heard did 6 days later, 6 years ago today.
Also, if you look at like how serious Johnny is taking all of this throughout this trial, like he is stone-faced. He's not laughing, murmuring, looking at people, whatever. He's not distracted. He is just like, let's get this over with. I hate this. That's somebody who's been through it. That's somebody who's been through it.
She walked
That's somebody who's a victim.
into court with a visible mark on her face, not wearing makeup that day. She tipped off TMZ. She made it public. And she showed up on the cover of People magazine with a mark on her face. Was that protecting Mr. Depp? Or was she trying to destroy him?
This is a KO.
Mr. Rottenborn asked you to consider why you're here.
Mr. Rottenborn.
So why are you here? You're here because of a lie. And that was a lie that Ms. Heard repeated in the op-ed. At the start of this trial, we told you that this trial is about the evidence. The evidence overwhelmingly shows that Ms. Heard is an abuser and that she is a liar.
Yep.
She lied about Mr. Depp and took on the role of a lifetime as a public figure representing domestic abuse. What is her best evidence of that abuse? A video of Mr. Depp banging cabinets around. And text messages of Mr. Depp using bad words and dark, ugly humor, but never once admitting to abuse. Pictures of Mr. Depp sleeping. That's her best evidence. Ms. Heard herself. Ms. Heard held herself out to the world as a representative of abuse survivors everywhere, the face of the Me Too movement. This is not a Me Too situation. There are no Me Toos, just not me's. Ms. Heard does
Amber didn't get that one. You're like, ah?
not deserve to be known as a representative of survivors of abuse. And Mr. Depp does not deserve to be known as a representative of perpetrators of abuse.
Correct.
That is what this case is about.
Integrity.
It's not about money. It's about giving Mr. Depp his life back.
Yep.
6 years ago when she took it away.
Yep.
While you deliberate, ask yourselves why Mr. Depp would put himself through this. Expose every embarrassing detail of his life on national television. If he was guilty of anything that Ms. Heard accuses him of. We ask you, we implore you, to render a verdict for Mr. Depp. We ask you to set the record straight, that he is not the abuser she described, and that she is not the heroic survivor she portrayed. And we ask you to tell Ms. Heard that what she did was wrong. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, what a performance.
Rebuttal closing?
Johnny like, hey, look at that. They're like, you crushed that. My God. And you could tell, man, she really cares about him. You could tell she was getting emotional there at the end, too. Oh, that was a 10 out of 10. Here comes Elaine, probably going to do some gibberish. Unbelievable. Like I said, I got to watch the verdict soon. And that, once again, just because I watched this and then the verdict doesn't mean that I'm done with this. We already know what happens. This isn't like watching the end of the Titanic for the first time, okay? There will be a lot more. Just, you know. I'm just, guys, sometimes my brain watches what it wants to watch, all right? You know? All right, wow. That was unbelievable. That was true perfection. That was true perfection. Just like you, my lovely viewers. Thank you for making it to the end. Shout out to you for being here the whole time. You know, I love you and I appreciate you. Like the video before you go, leave some comments. The more the merrier. Hype the video and subscribe to the channel. And once again, check out the playlist. Shout out to Tori. If you ever see Tori Turtle in the comments, that is my mod, my only mod. I only have one mod, and she works her butt off. Thank you, Tori. So if you ever see her in the comments, say, hey, Tori, thank you for keeping the channel safe. She gets rid of people that are, you know, scary and weird, because there's weird and scary people on the internet, no matter what you do, no matter how great your audience is. Everything else is in the description. You want to watch me live on Twitch, click that button down there. It's in the description. You want to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram's down there as well. Whatever you feel like doing. The main thing, though, is I hope you have a good rest of your day or night. Thank you for watching right here on Triple R Ryan's Raw Reactions. Don't bother me while I'm watching true crime. Why do I always say it so weird? Let me play on it. Don't bother me while I'm watching true crime. Peace out. One day I'm going to get that perfect, and we're all going to clap. Bye.